Ancient Illumination series as well as the Umbani Chronicles. And I'm joined once again by Jocelyn Short.
Yep.
She is a creator of Bearers, and she is a concept artist and illustrator. She's done some concept art for me, so there will be a link in the description to her website if you're interested in her art. And also joining us is JP Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
He is the creator of Eve of Insurrection, Eve of Reclamation, and also the illustrator on the Ancient Illumination graphic novels as well as the Umbani Chronicles comics. And we are back. Spoiler alert. Kind of double spoiler alert because we didn't get a chance to podcast last week in prep for Blerdcon. I'm assuming everybody had a great show.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good times, good times. I was kind of not disappointed really because I called it after the previous episode in episode 3, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, so it's like unofficial. But we're going to talk about Betrayed, which was the 3rd episode, so spoiler alert for that. And then after that, we're going to get into the latest episode, Beloved, which just released yesterday. So if you have not watched those 2 episodes of Secret Invasion, go ahead and log off of here, watch them, and then come back and hear what we had to say about it. In Betrayed, we start off with Gravik, basically. This is a weird one for me. He uses this nuclear sub attack on like a NATO aircraft as a smokescreen to try and ferret out who the traitor in amongst the Skrull are. And then we all know it's Gaia because she's been consistently passing information to Talos the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
But like she doesn't even hide it well to me. Like she's sitting in the car.
Make a phone. Didn't she make a phone call?
She texts him.
She's been so hot the whole time, like just looking shifty while she's sitting next to him in the car. Every minute, just
like,
she's
he's
sitting there
on the phone giving out details, and she's like, bomb plots.
Got him.
Don't mind me, I'm just driving. Like he can see you right there texting. It was just so weird. It was so obvious that she was gonna lead to getting caught, and Taylor's just answering the phone, and yeah. Then he's like, Gaia, run! Like, it's too late.
something I thought was. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say something I thought was weird. Well, do you want to talk about each episode one by one first?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll hold my thoughts.
Okay. And Gravik doesn't seem to care about wasting resources because
he's that guy. He has resources to waste, clearly.
I'm talking about as far as your people, though.
That's what I'm saying.
That man is Scar. That man is Scar.
He's just setting up bait after bait after bait, and he's just losing people left and right. Like, it was all, charge it to the gang. We just had to lose a couple.
Gotta spend money to make money.
I was like, he's throwing people in this little plot. I'm not sure what's gonna happen to Beto now. Beto, whatever his name is, the brother that had a little floppy hat that wanted to be home with his own skin.
Oh, him? Oh, yeah.
Because he was the one that was kind of giving pushback when they wanted to push the button in the nuclear sub. Like, he's like, are we really gonna do this? He's like, yeah, we about to do this. This is what you signed up for.
That's your job.
You're a villain. You're a radicalized terrorist Skrull. You got to do the thing.
What time you think we're on?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a superhero.
We are here now.
Good person.
You're gonna have to eat this. This is what we're doing now. You signed up. Then later in that episode, we have Fury and Vara / Priscilla kind of have it out, but a relaxed kind of having it out when he's trying to challenge, like, who did you become? And she's like, I just went back to being who I was before I met you. Like, I was for my people. I'm still for my people. Like, what you mean? And he really has no answer as to why he just boned out after, like, my man's got snapped. He didn't even come home. He just went straight to the space station. And then, like, he was gone already for 5 years. It sounds like he's been gone for another 5. Like, my man's been missing for like 10 years from his wife, and then just shows up later. Ooh, I left something. Pick up my ring and put that back on real quick. Like, you ain't gonna answer no questions.
That's crazy.
All I can do is just shake my head. He's not doing the right things as a husband.
Yeah,
He abandoned
at
his
all.
wife. Terrible. Bad Nick. Bad Nick.
And then we had that phone call that she gets right where they're talking, and
I was disappointed.
Yeah, because he was like, "Don't ignore it on my account," and then he's basically just looking at her in the grill, like, "Really, you gonna do this? I'm standing here, okay, really."
You up
And
to
then
something?
you see him kind of after the conversation's over. She has like a little, looks like a Samsung Z flip phone or something, and she puts it down on the counter, and he's just sitting there staring at the phone. I was waiting on him to pick up the phone and
Me
check
too.
the call. He's just sitting there. They leave that open. Um, and kind of at the end of this episode, we can talk about things in more detail after I say this, but to me, this is where Rhodey was revealed to be the Skrull. When he calls Vara, and then she ends up going to the safe to get the gun, and she's being told to meet at this Saint Francis Church or wherever they go to meet at, but we don't see that till the next episode. And then of course the big scene is we see Gaia shot, but that was way too. Was it just me, or was it way too easy for her to get out of the facility?
Everything, in my opinion, everything was happening like too easily. Like them stopping the. We could argue them stopping the. What did they call him? I'm about to make up a crazy name. The guy who had the launch codes.
Oh, the naval officer.
The naval officer,
Yeah.
getting the codes, then translating all it to Gaia to getting the information from Gaia. Everything was just going a little too smooth. So when she got shot, I was like, Graphic, you saw it all coming. I could see you, or I could see you wasting resources to pull out to kind of smoke out the mole. So I was like, oh, okay, nice. I was a little surprised by that, actually.
And that was another thing I called with Gaia. I felt she was sneaking around the Super Scroll machine a little too much. I was like,
they had to foreshadow. Some things.
I think she's a Super Scroll. That's why when I saw her laying on the ground in her scroll form with a little purple hole in her chest, but I didn't see anything bleeding out, I was like, oh, she's not dead. She's gonna get back up.
You're like, she gonna get back. She's
gonna get back up. She's giving herself extremist powers because they showed it to us before when Gravik is confronted by Talos and he stabs him in the hand, put the knife through the hand in the table, and then he pulls his hand through the knife, and you see that he has this self-healing thing. I was like, okay. And we also saw her, like I said, looking through the files on the computer, seeing what DNA that they had collected so far. We saw Groot, I forget, Obsidian something.
Not
the
Obsidian
big
Mom.
That was with Thanos.
Yes, that guy.
They had his DNA, Groot's, the Extremis, and one of the beasts from Jotunheim, from Thor Dark World, the Jotunheim creature. So she had to pick of all that, and it makes more sense to get the Extremis because I know I'm probably going to get got out here in these streets when I'm not being too smart with my spycraft. So we're going to need some healing. Is going to be extra useful. I wonder if they're going to have her breathe fire, though. That we have yet to see that.
That would be pretty interesting.
Iron Man 3, we saw a boy breathing fire.
Is that specifically like what that technology is?
Yeah.
Okay. No wonder it looked familiar.
They were trying to make some super soldiers through Killian and AIM in Iron Man 3.
That makes sense.
Iron Man, remember, got hold of it. That supposedly didn't do anything with the technology, but obviously it was still out. And we see somebody with Extremis in Shang-Chi in the cage fights. There's a dude glowing orange in there. So there are soldiers from Extremis still out there in the public.
You better than me. I would not have remembered.
I wouldn't remember that either.
Of these details unless you just brought them up.
You're not alone, Justin.
So yeah, we see Gaia get shot, and we see Var take that phone call at the very end, and those were my two takeaways: that Rhodey's the Skrull, and that Gaia is not dead. Now, I don't think they're going to do a double take on this. They're not going to do a double dip, rather, with the killing the character and bringing him back. The second one we see killed in the later episode, I think, is going to stick. Because I think they can't pull that trick out too many times back to back to back. And we only have, 2 more episodes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I haven't watched the third episode. That episode, that was episode 3, right?
Yeah,
Betrayed.
was.
Watching that twice, I was a little like I didn't the first go around. I didn't pay attention to the phone calls that much, and then the second go around, I was like, oh, that's Don Cheadle's voice. I'm like, oh, this kind of gives it away. Like I'm like, it's a little too like it was too obvious. Like I I like how they did it the first time where she answers the phone, and because we're in Nick Fury's perspective, we're not hearing the phone call. We don't hear the voice, but because we're in Vara's perspective, we're not hearing the voice, which ultimately gives away like a very important reveal. I'm like, come on, like I was like, that could have been a little more subtle, and it was also some very interesting moments, like conversations with Talos and Nick. There was something that car ride to the naval officer's house.
They were basically having the pissing contest. The who?
Yeah, and I'm like, and it was. This is what I'm starting to really like about this show is like how it's subverting or not, just these conversations of like marginalized people, like people of color, and how we kind of exist in the world. And like when Talos was saying, like it was weird that Nick is operating like the white oppressor situation toward the Skrulls, where he's exploiting them for his own gain, or yes, for his own gain. And they're kind of doing all these like they're building his reputation, making him better. And it was funny when Talos kind of like I can't remember the specific word, just the idea of like them doing all this work in the shadows. And I'm like, yep, black people did that in America. I'm like, there's that literal obvious parallel. And Nick seemed unfazed by it. Like, yeah, we've like I wanted him to say, like, yeah, we've been doing this too. Like, you're not the only one.
It's even deeper next episode. The parallels with the title,
yes,
the themes. Any last words on Betrayed before we move on to Beloved?
Jocelyn, nothing from you. Jocelyn, son.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, to me, like episode 3 felt like an in-between episode. Like it definitely felt like, all right, we just need to see this stuff happen to get to the key stuff that is meant to happen in like the next episode. So like and also my thoughts are just kind of I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. I feel like Guy is just being so hot just the whole time, and honestly I feel like I don't understand how, like, what's the main dude's name, the main bad? Yeah, Gravik. I don't understand why he didn't see it sooner. Like I just kind of feel like he should have had like more security watching her or something. I don't know. Like maybe that's hot. I'm sure that
he did question her.
He knew something was up.
He knew something was up because she was like, dude wasn't as, because she tried to pin it on a boy that they killed. Like he wasn't as strong as you thought he was.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because that's when he was like, only 2 or 3 of us knew the location of the safe house. So how did that happen? And she was like,
gotcha. Okay, that part I was half paying attention. So fair enough. But okay, all right, fair, got it.
Yeah. Got it. The funny part too was the whole thing with Talos basically being like, "We made you, like your whole spot, you was a desk jockey until we came into the picture, and then all of a sudden you had a rise to stardom on our backs, and now you want to complain about stuff." And they were just going they were going back and forth in that car ride on the way to try and stop, get the launch codes.
Oppression Olympics. That's what that was. I got it. That was Oppression Olympics.
It's very interesting, like the whole kind of layers of commentary on colonization. Like just basically kind of what you guys are saying about how like Nick Fury is kind of using the Skrulls, but also as a black man historically has been used that way. Like it's just it's very interesting. That's
it gets deeper. Let's get into Beloved, the second episode that we're discussing today. And the parallels are even deeper when we get to Beloved, because we're introduced to this idea with Priscilla and this book of poetry that she reads to Nick Fury. But also, I think it's a parallel to the oppression of slaves because there's a Toni Morrison book and movie called Beloved,
Yeah.
Which
we read that book just a side note, we read that book in high school. It was very intense.
Not only that, I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the church scene where Rhodey and Priscilla meet, and he says, "Enjoy this concert," the choir is singing an Old Negro spiritual in there. So it's a whole bunch of levels to that. And that was it.
Now I'm upset. Now I'm angry. Like, now I'm upset about that. Oh my god!
We're gonna have to pause the podcast. I have to process this. This is wild. This is wild. Wait. Okay. All right. So, can we just? Okay. All right. I feel like I need to.
Out of control.
All right. So. Okay. So, did anybody feel like Don Cheadle was talking? I mean, Rhodey was talking crazy, like throughout this entire episode, although we clearly know what's happening.
Well, the whole thing was crazy with him. I think I talked to you offline when I was like, after that last interaction between him and Nick Fury, I had to go back and think about his interaction with Sam Wilson in Falcon and Winter Soldier when he's talking about, Cap gave you the shield and you need to be now the face of America. It would be a big thing basically for our people. Like, how could you just give this shield up to the museum when obviously he gave it to you for a reason? For him to go from that to, I'm not going to help a brother out in a time of need.
Right.
The thing is though, now I'm stressed because like, how long has Rhodey been a Skrull? And then like, where's Rhodey? Like,
where's the real Rhodey?
Like, where are they keeping him at? Like,
don't know, but we open up with my notes. I said, of course she's not dead. So we have we wake up Gaia. She sits up, and of course the glowing chest, and she's got the extremist as I thought.
Yep.
And then
they show us. They show it to us.
Flashback of her stealing the memories from the scientist lady, and going in and actually putting herself in the Super Skrull machine. And of course, she's got extremist now. So she's back. I'm like, okay, I knew this was coming. And then we have the scene I was just talking about or alluding to, where Vara meets with Rhodey at the church, and my boy Rhodey, spoiler alert, is basically putting the hit out on Nick Fury.
That was wild.
I'm still kind of stuck on you pointing out the Negro spiritual. Like I'm never gonna be able to show you that.
I literally wasn't. I'm so irritated by this. Like, and then that's kind of trifling. Like now that we know,
because it's like layers. No, because it's
go ahead, John.
Now it's like layers of like I know there's Skrulls and us they do, but now I just feel like there's layers of black cosplay, and I'm like, what's happening? What's going on?
What? Don Cheadle's a minstrel. Like it's like.
And then
like
not layers of like Coonism. Is this what this is? Is this?
It's that, and then making fun of
Coonin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
we need to gather ourselves. I'm irritated. I'm irritated. Oh, I need that scrolling. Go.
Toni Morrison's Beloved. Remember that was about the people in slavery and the spirits of those people that had died in the past, kind of haunting them. In the book and that whole story. So I don't know what perspective we're supposed to have that parallel to. Is it going to be the Skrulls in this instance, or is it like we said, the black folks that, because Nick Fury is basically being betrayed by who he thinks is his own in this grand scheme of things when he's trying to make things right, and he's at least admitted that he's made mistakes along the way.
Ultimately,
so it's multiple beloveds here.
Ultimately, I just feel like it's disrespect. Like, fuck y'all and your black bodies. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. So I'm like, it's like, oh man, Rhodey, you gotta die. Skrull Rhodey, you have to die.
Yeah.
And I had so with the poem, during this episode, like, Nick and Var meet up for dinner in the past. It was 2012. When the Avengers, I guess it was New York. It was right after the Avengers showed up.
Yeah, no, remember they meet up before that in the 90s when they're trying to.
Yes, they had that
talking, and then again Yeah, in 2012 when
Yeah.
she's asking about who I think I know who might have put that together type thing.
Right. But with that poem about the beloved, because I didn't have the connection like the Toni Morrison connection, but I was thinking about this idea of being accepted in the world, like finding love and joy and just being whole.
And
And I
that's what
thought
she
that was
wants.
what you say?
That's what she
And
wants.
that's what she wants. And so that's kind of like that was kind of like a beautiful kind of like just expression of like what she was looking for in her life, and like even like her taking like her like we also Jocelyn got answers to the question you had at the beginning.
Yes.
Why this black woman?
Yeah.
And I was like, I immediately thought I was like, okay, so she found this black woman who was like a doctor,
Yeah.
named Priscilla, and
But it
Priscilla
was
wasn't gonna make it.
interesting. It was
Yeah,
interesting though because she was perpetrating. She was perpetrating like like she was saying that she was trying to basically stake out Nick Fury and like how's the best way to get close to him. Obviously a black lady, right? So, but so which I mean it does like you said it answers all my questions, but it's also like it's still fucked up.
yeah. She and he calls her out on that. She's like, even then you were thinking of me with the long game, and she's like, don't do that. He's like, well, what else can how else can I
Right.
say
I was
that?
like, what do you mean don't do that? You did that.
Yeah. So we have Fury. This is funny. Fury meets up with Rhodey at his apartment, which is
Sorry,
Can we?
Pappy's.
go ahead.
What? Go ahead, Jordan.
All right, so can we just talk about the shower? So Scroll Rhodey gets out the shower. So I noticed Scroll Rhodey did something. So Scroll Rhodey wrapped their towel around their chest.
Yes.
And then I was like, wait. I'm like, wait, is Scroll Rhodey like a woman
Yes.
playing as
Yes.
Rhodey? And I'm like, huh. So you really are cosplaying as a black man. You chose the cosplay.
And if you look at the
really?
Yeah, and if you look at the credits, it's a female scroll. I forget her name starts with the R, but she is a known character from Secret Wars and the comics.
Oh.
So the heavy Marvel nerds will be happy about that. But yeah, female scroll is playing as Rhodey out there. And yeah, and Fury just shows up at the crib with the bottle of Pappy's. I'm like,
why?
I love Nick Fury when he's like this. Like whenever he is showing up and he knows what he's like that. Those are the moments where you see where he knows what he's doing. He knows what information he's really getting.
Yeah.
You know, he's on it. He's on it. He's not there without a plan. He's there with a plan. And then he just starts talking. He just starts talking like he's in like he's a character in a whodunit. And and I just he's at his best to me when he's like that.
I felt like he was messing with Rhodey. Like he knows he's a scroll.
Absolutely.
So is it me or he turned the blackness up to 10?
Absolutely.
Ooh, talking about ancestors grabbing him from the grave. He wasted that.
That's a good point. And see, now I feel like I have to go look up the history of that bottle because it's probably significant, even more so. But yes, that's a great point. They're like, yeah, he's dialing it up, like, because in that moment to me, he definitely sounded like at the cookout, we're about to play spades.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my god, that would have been hilarious if he asked Scroll Rhodey to play spades.
Whoa, yeah.
I'm thinking he's doing that to see if Rhodey will miss any of the references, and maybe that would be an extra tell. Like, I already know you're a scroll, but if you don't understand where I'm coming from, it just like cements it even further. And it was like Rhodey was trying to join in when he called it fire.
He said when he called it fire.
I was like,
he sounded like a millennial.
Why didn't Rhodey just kill him there? Like, I don't have to ask Var to kill him. He's right here. I could just kill him. Skip the middleman. Don't worry about it. Unless it's also a ploy to try and test her loyalty. Like
could be
ultimate betrayal. Like, you got to kill the one you've married. he leaves after all, and we can't forget that Brody threatened to release the video of basically Gravik disguised as Nick Fury shooting Maria Hill. So he's like, "You gonna have?" It's like, really, aliens? That's gonna be your alibi? That's what you gonna tell them when this gets to the press?
Yeah, Squirrel Road, you had him with that one.
Yeah, like that. That wasn't gonna play very well. And so we leave that scene after we find out later that Nick outsmarts Squirrel Roadie again because he didn't poison them. He just put these little nanobot trackers so they could follow where they're going. But before that, we get the standoff. This is like my favorite part of this episode was the standoff between him and Priscilla. When actually the U.S. mentioned part of it, when they basically he asked, her to clarify why she chose the body she chose, and then she explains it, and then she gives the three promises. We didn't talk about this in the last episode. Oh, was it this episode where he's listening in? Actually, it's this episode.
Yeah, he was listening to their conversation. That's how he knew. That's how he found out.
And you can see that Nick's not pissed, but he's more hurt. Like
he's
just ready to cry sitting on that bench listening to Brody tell her, like, hey, you need to go ahead and kill him. And she's like, he's old. He's put out the pasture. He's going to self-combust himself. We don't even need to do that. Just, this ain't the old Nick that you have to be worried about. He's going to go out the pasture on his own. And he's like, I hear you telling me what you're not going to do. And if you do that, I'm going to show you what I will do. And I'm like, oh, here we go. But we get Priscilla and Nick kind of hashing it out. It was kind of dope scene where they sit down at the table. Both of them pull their pistols out. Like, I know you got your gun. I'm going to put mine on the table right here. Show me yours. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. And then they have it out. Like, basically, it was almost like, was any of this real kind of conversation? And they have a standoff going back and forth. And both, when the conversation is over, it was real tense. They pull the guns and they cut away.
Boom.
And you hear the shots go off. And then when they go back, both of them are still, which was kind of cool. It was a really cool scene to me because neither of them shot each other. Both of them.
That was love right there. And that's what made me really happy. I mean, look at these people. They love each other.
Like, I don't know if this means we filing for divorce or whether we should renew our vows.
They're renewing them vows. I was like, let's go.
I like this a lot. It felt like Kill Bill. Like, I don't know if y'all seen the end of Kill Bill too, but it
exactly that.
Yeah,
The scene with Uma Thurman and David Carradine sitting at the end.
Yep.
Two former lovers confronting each other on this like revenge track.
Yep.
That was exactly what that was. But there was a real poignant moment when basically Priscilla asked, if I'd never changed, if I had shown you my true self the entire time, would you have fallen in love? And Nick kind of bows out because he doesn't answer, but he does. Because he's like, he just turns around and is like, I guess we'll never find out. But he doesn't say like yes or no, but in a way that to me is telling me no. Like, he wouldn't have accepted the green booty.
Yeah, I felt the same way. To be honest with you, I felt the exact same way. I'm like, that wasn't a real answer to me. That wasn't it wasn't direct enough. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, he wasn't.
I mean, I feel like it's fair to be like, I don't know, like, I don't know if I would. Like,
but he met her when she was green.
But also, and then see, there's a couple of things to that, because if he met her when, if she was green, but like, the reason he fell in love with her because she's a black lady, and then that assumes that she has all the things that come with being a black lady. And so if she's just this green lady, but somehow like, is herself with what context, like.
But that would have actually been more of an answer. If he said, I don't know, that's still more of an answer than I guess we'll never find out. And at first it was just pure silence as he kind of walks away. And only at the last moment, like you see him kind of thinking, he stops, turns around, and then like, well, I guess we'll never find out, and walks up.
I mean, it's kind of funny because to me, it's kind of like, I don't know, is that a question you really want to answer to?
Do you really want to know the truth?
Yeah, like, is that, are you sure you want to ask that?
Good point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
No, because I mean, like, yeah, just like, are you sure that's a thing you want to, like, what would, really, what would that look like? I feel like that's a question you need to think about a lot before you ask, and I feel like she didn't think about it. Because I feel like, I know,
She
good,
just
right?
asked. She's just
Yeah,
like, I'm saying what's on my mind.
right, and I'm like, I guess you built for tough for that answer. So
Well, she didn't really get an answer, so I think it's almost worse. Like, she just left in limbo.
That's what I feel like. I'm like, that would have been a no for me.
No,
that's
I mean, honestly, that's worse. That's worse. So I guess you built for tough.
Find out.
So
she probably had to laugh that one off. She's like, I'm a big girl. She said anyway, I'm a big girl. All right, whatever. You
they're gonna come for you. I'm a big girl. I can take care of myself, which I guess we're gonna see later. And finally, we come to Gravik trying to assassinate the U.S. president and pin it on the Russians with these attack helicopters and missiles and them jumping down and obviously speaking Russian. But Gravik really, he could have made himself at least look Russian. He just like a little.
He could have changed his face. He could have put a ski mask on.
Speaking Russian, coming down like and speaking Russian, that was enough to disguise everything. This was kind of a dope scene. You see him use his group powers to snatch one of the Secret Service people. The funny part to me, did y'all laugh when Rhodey was sitting inside the SUV with the bullets flying up, and he's just like sitting there watching in the seat,
like just chilling, and like nobody's like, it's just too much happening, so no one's wondering that like, where's Rhodey? He's just his car.
I'm wondering if he's a Super Skrull already. Maybe that's why he was so chill.
That would make it cool if Rhodey was Super Skrull. Oh, can we talk about how the president said you called out Rhodey for saying he was pre-gaming?
Yeah.
And he didn't catch the reference. That was interesting. He didn't catch the reference. He was so. Goodness
gracious. He smelled like alcohol, and he walked away talking about get me a mint. And then you see the dude, his Secret Service is jammed up in an arm sling, which leads me to another question: is Nick Fury enhanced?
Why would you say that?
Oh, because he just went into the fight like guns blazing,
Well, no, but
he ain't doing too
I'm
much.
assuming that Rhodey's Secret Service may also be a Skrull, and they are more powerful than regular humans, I think. And my boy just broke his arm, jammed him up at the dinner table at that restaurant they met, and kind of walked off like, I'm bad. And nobody did nothing about it. And now you see this dude in a whole harness and arm sling. I don't know that he's a Skrull, but I'm thinking that he would want other Skrulls around him as well, and not just trust human Secret Service just because they don't know.
That's true. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that, because I'm like, well, if he he could do what he always does, which is blend in. It's not difficult. So that guy could just be a normal guy, just to keep up the appearance of humanity, being human. And I would have, like you, I would have assumed, why not insulate yourself with more Skrull bodyguards, and it makes more sense. So I think he's a normal. I would assume he's a normal guy. And, and Nick is normal. Nicholas is normal.
Yeah, I mean, I've never broke anybody's arm before, but I mean,
is it easy to do? Does anybody know, or do you know?
Yes, it is.
He said yes. You think it's easy? Okay.
I mean, it doesn't take as much as you think it does.
Like just a little force.
Yeah, like if you bend someone's elbow the wrong way, you can snap that joint if you're effective enough with like 8 to 10 pounds of pressure. It doesn't take much. Yeah, if you do it right.
If you do it right, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So
I figured it wasn't, that it wasn't the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah. But I'm thinking if that's a Skrull though, it should be harder. And Nick took him down quick. Like there was no question. There was never a moment where you thought, oh, I don't think Nick's getting out of this. Nick mollywopped that dude in like 5 seconds, took the last shot of his drink, and then walked out. Like it was nothing. So that's what kind of made me think if Rhodey's a Skrull, then maybe some of the Secret Service is Skrull, and Nick just mollywopped that dude really quick. Like maybe he's enhanced in some form that we don't know about. Plus, he takes a licking and keeps on ticking. All these battles and stuff and scrapes, something's going on. Or he's the luckiest man around, and he just keeps surviving. I know a lot of that's skill, but he might have had some enhancements, some performance enhancing drugs might have helped him with his survival, I think. So yeah, we have this scene with the attack. What do you guys think about the attack scene with the missiles hitting the motorcade?
So personally, I enjoyed a lot of that scene. Like just the visual effects of action, like them taking out the kind of Secret Service people taking out using that like one truck to like pull out a rocket launcher and shoot one of the helicopters. I was like, whoa, that's what we doing?
Yeah, the surface to air missiles. They need more.
I was like, they put that right there. All right, let's go. So they knocked that one helicopter out, and then it like landed, crashed, blew up, knocked out other U.S. service agents. Like, ooh, this is intense. This is great.
Yes, and the president's vehicle is
flipped over,
flipped upside down. Rhodey gives him exactly which vehicle to hit. He's making phone calls. That's the other thing that makes me think that his Secret Service are Skrulls.
And that's why I would, because those guys would have known that. They should have known that
he's on an open line telling them exactly which vehicle to hit. They get into his firefight, and all of a sudden Nick and Taylor show up because of the nanobots they put in Rhodey. They followed him to the attack, and everything starts going crazy. And the Skrulls know Fury because they over Fury's here. And I'm like, okay, Fury's here, so like you just want to do, we don't keep doing what we doing. Why are you telling me take him out?
Shoot him.
What are we conversing for? You just take Nick Fury out. So that was kind of crazy. Like I said, we see the group powers from Gravik. And I'm also wondering, how many of these dudes do you think are also Super Skrulls? Because a lot of them seem to get downed when the reinforcements.
I feel like it's at least like the main dudes who generally are with Gravik.
Okay.
Like, I imagine it would be. Like, he can't
so
be.
You think Pagan or whatever the hell his name is, his like right hand man who he basically told that guy was the traitor and that he took care of it before they launched the attack. He's like, guy's not here. There's a problem.
You know, I don't know. Maybe now that you say that, it makes me think because, like, maybe Gravik is the only one who's supercharged or whatever, superpowered. Because, like, I feel like if others, like, if his main people alongside him were also supercharged, that they would, like, that guy who was, like, concerned about where Guy was, that he wouldn't be concerned. Like, I feel like he would, like, Gravik probably would have instructed him to do the hit or something, and he wouldn't be worried about it. I feel like people would just be overall less worried.
Well, that's why I think Rhodey is one, because like I said, my boy was chilling in the back seat, like
that's true. Okay.
Bullets flying on both sides, and he's just like all they needed was he was basically the Michael Jackson meme with popcorn. He's just watching shit pop off, bullets flying left and right, and he's just like, "Ooh, it looks real crazy out there."
It's like, he ain't even trying to act like, just watching calmly.
Yeah, bullets were flying into the vehicle.
You know what? You know what this makes me think of, kind of? Like, I feel like maybe the Skrull who's Rhodey, like, maybe he's not even concerned about Gravik. Like, maybe there's a higher kind of, you know, because he was sitting in the car so unbothered that maybe, like, he was just like, all right, I'm gonna be here whatever they gotta do. But, like,
well, you may know.
Yeah.
Remember, Gravik in the last episode told the council and showed them the finger. Like,
he probably called Gravik. That was Rhodey probably called Gravik.
He did.
Yeah, that was That's what that felt obvious. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, no. I mean, I knew that, like, he knew what was going on, or she knew.
They did.
They on this one, y'all.
Yeah. So, like, I knew that they knew what was going on, but I'm reaching a little bit by saying this. Like, you know, it's not really verified, but it just makes me think by how unbothered they were, because you know, like, maybe that Skrull, you know, like Rhodey Skrull, is just like, all right, well, I'm gonna let Gravik do whatever you got to do, you know, planning my plans. So I don't know.
Reinforcements come in. They have a standoff. And Talos is trying to free the president. My boy starts punching. This is what I'm saying when I'm thinking it's possible that Nick Fury is enhanced. When you see Talos just dropping bombs on the car, he's punching the window open, barehanded, punching this window, and then like take care of it. They finally shoot him in the arm. He stops and starts transmogrifying back into his normal skin. Halfway, you got human ear on one side, scroll ear popping
That
up.
was wild. That was wild. Then the one dude, the one was it the one British soldier was like, oh, like it's an alien.
Yeah, he starts freaking out. And then it took Nick to be like, yo, he's with us. He's with me.
He's one of the good guys.
Yeah, he's pounding to get the president out. They finally get the president out, and then you see somebody pick up Talos to try
the same guy. You see the same
guy, and then we realize later that it's Gravik in disguise. And Nick should be a little more careful with his words because he says, let him down or take him down.
You're like, he shouldn't have said that.
Oh my god!
Don't say that, Nick.
Like he was gonna change it.
Yeah, don't mind if I do. Bam.
Like, got you. He shot him in the face. Doesn't he like shoot him in the face and his face grows back? That's an extremis.
Had the extremis / Terminator 2 open wound face just heal back up, and yeah, you see Nick Fury's eyes go bug like, oh, he's real. Super Skrull.
Got some
Talos dies. This part kind of pissed me off. I don't know about y'all. He puts the president in his, of course, Nick Fury's car is the best car to have because it's got all the equipment to keep you alive in an assassination attempt. But you can't leave the homie's body there for evidence.
Oh, God. That's a really good point. I was like, wait, they're gonna leave him? I thought about that, like, oh. So who's gonna get that Skrull body?
That Skrull body and the other Skrull bodies that are gonna be left there behind by Gravik's crew.
I think the U.S. government's gonna pick up them Skrull bodies.
Everybody's gonna know now because they're gonna have a bunch of Skrull bodies out there with Talos is included in there. I'm wondering how Gaia's gonna react because we saw her and him kind of have it out, where she was like, "I'm cool. I just need you to show me the plan," and Talos is like, "I don't have a plan. I'm going to appeal to the empathy of the U.S. president and ask him to give us asylum for the million that basically snuck in."
Wow.
And she's like, "That ain't no plan."
Shout out to Gaia for like really just being like, "That's not gonna happen, Dad." Like,
you're delusional.
Yeah, like what time are you on? You've been here probably longer than I have, and don't you see? They can't even get it together to get they folk.
Yeah, and Nick told them that.
So
we can't get along with ourselves. You think we're gonna get along with y'all? And then it was hilarious because I felt like Gaia pulled the LeBron James. I don't know if you've seen the meme at the end of the press conference where he puts his shade on, puts his back up,
and goes.
And he walks out the interview. She was like, "There was no plan." She's like, "I'm done." He just walks away, walks out the park, and that was a wrap. I'm like, oh, like. She was not convinced, and I guess she's gonna go off and do her own thing. And Talos, rip, rest in peace, Talos. He's dead. And this is what I was kind of alluding to earlier. I don't think they can just bring him back. He
needs to be the permadeath. I think he's.
Now we might get. I think it was Amanda Bynes or something that Gaia can take over from the comics. That she's in the comics. I forget the name, but. There's a hybrid human Skrull that becomes the leader of Saber and becomes like the helm of the group that's supposed to look for extraterrestrial threats outside of the planet of Earth. So I think they're going to amalgamate her into that kind of character. And now with Talos gone, and her mom Soren's dead. Now Talos is dead. So who's going to be the Skrull counterpart that's going to be a part of Saber and looking for outer threats that come from without. But yeah, I don't think they're going to bring him back.
So question, because we saw that Gravik has group powers, but he's kind of like in alchemy of powers based on like the stuff we saw in Iron Man 3. So, but he is also an alien. So my question is like, is the Groot stuff artificial, or is the Groot stuff Like, is he also part Groot? Because it makes me think, like, all right, Gravik obviously is super, he's super, but there are other people obviously on this thing that are super. Do they also have group powers? But maybe not because they're super, but just because they're aliens. And then because I'm asking if they got Groot stuff, that means maybe they could come back because Groot be dying and he come back.
Yeah.
So did any of y'all ever watch which X-Men movie was it? Probably the last X-Men movie where they actually had they didn't call them the Skrull, but they had it was basically the Skrull. Like they had these people that were transforming, and they looked very similar to what Groot looked like. They looked very like green and plant-like, and it kind of reminds me of that whole when Gravik transformed and did the Groot thing. Kind of remind me of them. But those they were like these. If you watch one of the last X-Men movies, you'll see this Skrull type people. They're Skrull.
And we still got 2 DNA samples he hasn't exhibited, but I think he's got all of them.
He's gonna whip out those powers eventually. I think it would make sense to be like, hey guys, we're gonna give y'all specific powers, and then he should be the one that has like all 4 or 5, because then that would just be kind of.
He's the avatar.
He wouldn't be a hierarchy there if he doesn't have.
Gave everything to everybody.
Yeah, come on now. Why am I watching this? I'm here to look at you do all the cool stuff. I don't want your henchmen wielding 4 abilities at the same time. That's cool.
Yeah, so we got 2 more episodes left. And like I said, I don't think Talos is coming back. We know we got fight scenes coming up with Vara and Gaia back to back in some intense scenes. So they're now, I don't really know whose team they're on. Type thing. Or they're just, they're just for the Skrull, or where they're backing Nick Fury or not, now that they've kind of all parted ways, because Gaia has kind of parted ways obviously with Talos philosophically even before he died, and we see that there's a split between Vara, aka Priscilla, and Nick Fury. So we'll see how that gets cleaned up, and who's on what team, if there's now a new team. That we're not as revolutionary as these other Skrull, but we still want to find a home and fight for ourselves.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's been interesting. I've liked it so far because it's kind of been more grounded than a lot of the other Marvel stuff, but they still have kind of crazier elements added into it, if that makes sense. This is kind of like a mixture between the street level stuff that we saw with Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, but there's still an extraterrestrial element with the Skrulls and now these other abilities popping in, but it's not as over the top, and I think it's a good mixture. Yeah. What are you guys thinking so far?
I think it's interesting. Like, I know that like Nick Fury has some Skrulls on his side, but this show, it definitely, at least to me, it feels like he's just out here by himself, just kind of winging it to try to get this together. I mean, and that's interesting because I guess I feel like that's probably how Nick Fury operates like all the time anyway, but I don't know. I guess he's just thrown because like he hasn't processed the blip. So he's just unmoored.
He hasn't healed himself yet from that.
Yeah, he's just been so unmoored this whole season so far that he's like on his game sometimes, and then, or at least he'll look like he's on his game, and then he'll go in the corner and just be like, "Fuck."
He breathing heavy. Like, what's going on, man?
And let's not forget that a lot of what he was able to accomplish was on the word of Talos, and now Talos is gone. So that linchpin of influence with the Skrulls is now gone effectively. And the other linchpin that he had was Gravik, and Gravik's gone to the dark side and totally doesn't, is all the way against him. Talos gone. Gaia is in no man's land, and he's split with Vara. So we gonna see who the real friends are. Maybe we're gonna find and break the real Rhodey out, and maybe you put that War Machine suit on, and we can go there.
That would be fire if Skrull Rhodey pulled out the War Machine. I need that to happen, but I don't want to get my hopes up because I'll be disappointed when it doesn't.
Yeah, so. I feel like the X-Files, like the folks from the X-Files, are gonna just hop out at some point. Just be like the theme song's gonna start playing.
Well, once again, thank you all for chopping it up with me and talking these things over. The one or two lurkers I see that caught us on live, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to us pontificate on these shows and series. Don't forget to go to Spotify and look up the Askari Cast. We're at like 35 followers in there. We need like at least 65 more y'all to follow so we can get our regular sponsorships back. And if you want to help us out now, you can either support the channel. There should be a support button, and go to toughraps.com and get you some workout gear for you health-minded nerds. And Jack's Rider will be the code for a 10% discount, and it will also help the channel out. Appreciate you, and we will talk to y'all next week to see episode 5 of Secret Invasion. Peace out.
Peace.
Bye.